Greg Ehrenberg here with Adam Scherer. It's another edition of the NBA Injury Report heading into the weekend. A little bit of a bigger slate today than yesterday. Some names to talk about here on the Injury Report. Some latest breaking news that's also going to be relevant. Like this video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if anything changes at all. Leave us a question below in the comment section. But jumping into tonight's injuries for a 9-game slate, starting with your Washington Wizards, Adam. Kristaps Porzingis, I don't know what the deal is there. It seemed like he was close to playing, but then took the All-Star break off. Still not playing. He's listed as out. We also have Thomas Bryant now questionable. He sprained his ankle a little bit before the All-Star break. So this does seem like there's a possibility of a pretty big void in the front court. No Porzingis. Obviously, Montrezl Harrell isn't there anymore. If Bryant is out, how do you think they fill the center minutes?
I think you get more from Daniel Gafford. I mean, he played about 12 minutes last game total, but the last time he started was the beginning of February. He played about 21 minutes. That was a game where Montrezl Harrell was active. I wouldn't be surprised if you get 24 minutes or so from Gafford if Bryant is out and he starts. I think it also would solidify playing time for Rui Hachimura at 4K. He's coming off of a game where he played about 27 minutes, so there's no real reason to be worried about a minutes limit there. I think it's likely you would get pretty substantial minutes from him for a 4K price tag. And then you would probably have the rest filled in by a $3,500 Anthony Gill, who isn't a great DFS option. He's not, a high usage guy. He doesn't do any one thing particularly well, but 3,500 small forward, potentially playing mid-20s in minutes if Bryant is out.
So now moving over to the Indiana Pacers, they are getting some players back. We got Malcolm Brogdon. He's expected to play. I have to assume this is going to be pretty restricted minutes because Brogdon has not been able to stick in the rotation very much over the last couple of months as he's been dealing with a nagging Achilles injury. But Brogdon is going to be back in the mix. Chris Duarte is listed as questionable. So what do you like from the Indiana Pacers here? Or do you think it just gets so muddled with Brogdon back in the picture that nothing's all that appealing, even if Duarte is out?
Yeah, I think it's just really muddled. There's still guys like whenever you get a situation like this where we just haven't seen what this rotation is going to look like, you can still make a case to get to some of the better point per minute guys in tournaments. But the problem you're going to run into is that Tyrese Halliburton is priced to not be playing any of his minutes with Malcolm Brogdon. And I think Halliburton's a very good player, but there's not really an argument that there's no reason you wouldn't expect his production to go down every minute that he's playing alongside Malcolm Brogdon. You saw the same thing in Sacramento. He's fine when he was playing with De'Aaron Fox. He was really good not playing with him. And so I expect that to be the same kind of thing here. Similarly with Buddy Hield, he could lose minutes. He could lose some of the usage he's been getting with Brogdon back. And so sure, he can still have a good game, but it's just less likely with Brogdon there. And then, with Duarte, if he's in, it just makes it even more difficult to trust playing time for guys like Brissett or, Stevenson or Smith or any of these guys that we were playing before the break. If Duarte is out, then, playing time for somebody like O'Shea Brissett looks a little bit better, but he's also up to 5,700. So I still don't really know that it's that useful.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at with this team too. It's still relevant to talk about because Brogdon's back in the mix. Duarte's still a big name on the injury report, but we've had the prices catch up at this point. This was a team that was really underpriced after the Domantas Sabonis injury, but we also kind of have a full rotation for them, which we haven't had for a long time. Here's a situation that is really interesting to me with the Phoenix Suns because this was a team yesterday. Devin Booker was massively chalky on FanDuel and DraftKings, ended up getting there with steals in all ways, which that was a little unforeseen. But that aside, we didn't really know what to make of the backcourt minutes. And surprisingly, it wasn't Aaron Holiday, nor was it Elfrid Payton that started. Instead, they just went with Devin Booker, point guard, that moved Cam Johnson to the starting lineup. But Cam Payne is questionable to play. He has not played in over a month. How do you think his potential return could change the starting lineup for the Suns and impact guys like Aaron Holiday?
So if Payne starts, then for one, he would look like a very, very good value. We know he's a good point per minute guy. But it would also just make it so I assume Aaron Holiday isn't really a good option. He played 25 minutes off the bench last night. I think if Payne is in, you're probably losing some minutes there. Maybe Torrey Craig loses some minutes as well, but it would make it so I still don't really want to get to Aaron Holiday. If Payne is out, and we get the same starting lineup, then, Cameron Johnson once again looks very good. If Payne is starting instead of Johnson, then it, downgrades Johnson as well.
All right, so I am trying to gather all of the OKC news because while we're in the middle of the show, listen, the NBA injury report comes out every day at 1:30. So I always think, in the best time is record right after 1:30, and then somehow at 1:37, OKC releases new news. So I'm going to hit on that in a second. As I do the ad read here, but I'm going to pull that up just so I make sure I have all the correct information while I do this with all the players that were just ruled out. The show is sponsored by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. If you guys are new to Yahoo, sign up using the link in the description box below. Head on over to Yahoo, make a deposit, enter a contest, get yourself 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Find all of the tools that you need to build winning NBA DFS lineups. And I've got the OKC news now in front of me. So they had a whole bunch of guys that we were considered to be questionable. Now, basically all of them have been ruled out. Lou Dort out again. Ty Jerome is out. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl is out. Kenrich Williams is out. Mike Muscala is out. Also the tail end of a back-to-back. So it stands to reason that Derek Favors will not end up playing. Now, obviously, very fresh news here, Adam. It happened about 30 seconds ago. Initial reaction, what stands out to you from OKC for tonight?
At the very least, it's going to open up spots where you can kind of roll the dice on guys. For example, last night, even with Isaiah Roby coming off the bench behind Favors, he still played 25 minutes. He's 4,300. He's around a point per minute guy. You mentioned Favors. Like, we still don't have news on him yet, but I think there's a decent chance he doesn't play tonight. And if you were to get Roby in the starting lineup, I think you can expect him to get up around 30 minutes. So the news that Kenrich Williams is out and that Dort and Jerome are out, it makes it so I still think Roby is like a dart throw type guy, even if he's coming off the bench, but you can't be that confident in him. If we get news later that Favors is out as well, then Roby looks better. But it also opens the door for, at least the potential for like Pogoshevsky to play more minutes. He only played 20 minutes last night, but at the same time, you got 20 minutes for Vit Krejci. And that's not something that has to happen. Like, you can obviously get games where Pogoshevsky plays an extra 8 minutes and looks decent. So he's expensive enough at 4,700 where you're not looking at him and saying, oh, this is a great value. But there's like at least a path to success for him. Aaron Wiggins, kind of the same thing. Started the first half, didn't start the second half, only played 21 minutes. He's a terrible fantasy producer. There's no guarantee on his playing time, but there's at least more of a path for him with Dort and Williams and Jerome out. But still, I think it's kind of still just not guys that I'm really that interested in.
Yeah, that you just bring up a point. Vit Krejci. There is a lot of hard to pronounce names on this Oklahoma City roster with some of their foreign draft picks that they make in the second round. We've got Vit Krejci, Teo Maledon, Alexei Pokushevsky, just names that. But Alexei, that's a very difficult name to spell. If you guys aren't aware, Alekseej. So I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's Vit Krejci, which I know from playing NHL DFS for the last week because there's the guy on the Bruins that's also named Krejci. So comes in handy.
I had a good moment on my tournament show, like before the break. Pogoshevsky was one of the guys in my top 5. And I realized, like, as I went to say his name, that I don't think I've ever said his first name on a show. And like you said, it's spelled so weird that, like, I know it's Alexei, but like when I looked at it, it was just like I couldn't even come up with like how to say it because like I just didn't recognize the spelling. I was like, okay, I guess we're just going with Pogoshevsky here.
Yeah, who spells Alexei with a J? Shame on his parents. They've made a spelling error there. I'm moving on to the Toronto Raptors now, and you brought up this point on Twitter earlier. Is how does somebody break their finger and just not be aware of it? But that's apparently what happened with OG Anunoby. He's been playing with some finger discomfort. Turns out that finger is broken, so he is now going to be out for an indefinite period of time. There's no real news. They're just like, hey, he's a broken finger. Assume that he's going to be out for today and at least for the foreseeable future. We know how tight of a rotation Toronto plays. So I still think the high-end guys, we could count on big minutes from Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, who was listed as questionable a few days ago, but now is expected to play. The player I most want to ask you about, though, is do you think the absence of OG Anunoby means that we are going to see Thad Young play an extended role in the rotation? Because they traded a first-round pick for him at the trade deadline, and he's basically not done anything for them yet.
I think so. My expectation is that we get something similar to what we got last game where Fred VanVleet was out. And I realized that VanVleet and Anunoby play different positions. But we've seen Toronto, it doesn't really matter which starter goes down. They just start the same 4 guys plus one of the centers. It had been Precious Achiuwa. Last game, it was Khem Birch. I assume it'll be Birch again today. Birch played 20 minutes. Young played 20 minutes. Boucher played 22 and a half, and Precious Achiuwa played 21. Then you just got like a handful of minutes for Flynn and Banton. I expect it to be a similar thing here where, $3,600 Thad Young plays 20 minutes or so in a good spot against Charlotte. Similarly, you get around 22 from Boucher. You get around 20 from a min salary Khem Birch. So, all of those guys offer some value if that is in fact what the starting lineup is. But I think that, on a point per minute basis, the guys like Young and Boucher are the ones that really have the potential to just break the slate open for you.
All right, now let's finish this with this is going to be a mess in the second
Yep.
half of the season. LeBron James is listed as questionable. I assume he plays because LeBron was listed as questionable like every single game last year, and he ended up playing through most of them. Now for this year, I mean, the Lakers just need LeBron down the stretch of the season without Anthony Davis in there. So I assume LeBron plays, but at the
He
same
also
time,
just
we
played
kind
like
of
100 minutes in the All-Star game. Like,
yeah,
kind of a
that
bad look
also
if you
because
can't play this one.
he was questionable with this sore knee before the All. Like, did he really play in the All-Star game to potential sacrifice the Lakers' playoff chances? I think not. But once again, with Anthony Davis out, it would obviously be really significant if he doesn't end up playing. So, are you putting any consideration into a chance of LeBron not playing, or just assuming, hey, he's good to go?
I'm assuming he's good to go. If I have to swap stuff around later, so be it. But it's not a situation where I want to just be like, oh, well, I'm just not going to play him because I don't know. Because I mean, he's a 1.6 fantasy point per minute guy in the games he's played without Davis this year. So I certainly want to be there. If he gets ruled out late, I mean, it kind of sucks because this is the only 10 o'clock game. So there's certainly the potential that you only have options in this game. But still, you would have Westbrook that you can swap to. You have Reggie Jackson, who's a high upside guy on the other side. There's plenty of value pieces that you can get to in this game as well. So like, there's at least still good plays in this game.
Yeah, and once again, I think LeBron plays. I feel like we're kind of obligated because when LeBron James is listed as questionable, it's obviously potentially really impactful. But I just don't think it's going to matter. I'm assuming LeBron plays. I'm going to put no consideration into this. Something changes. Leave us a comment below. Ask a question. Like this video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good luck tonight, guys, and have a nice